Hi guys, it's Drew here. I'm going to make a video today on the decks that I want to use in 2016. This draws from a few videos that I have been watching and some plans I made prior to 2016. So, when I started the new year, I already had two plans to work with two decks that I really wanted to get into a deeper connection with throughout the whole year. And then some things shifted, but it's only like the first couple of weeks in January, so I need to come back to that place of studying with those decks. So these are decks that I want to study with, but also I want to develop a much more intuitive connection with. So the first one that I wanted to show you guys is pretty new to me. I only got it in the mail 2 days ago. It was a Christmas present for my mum, which is the Aleister Crowley Felt deck. Sorry for my camera, it's being really blurry at the moment. And I'm sure you guys have all seen the cloth deck, but if you haven't, I'll just show you a couple of cards. And I never really had any interest in this. One of my late friends had this deck and she let me borrow it for a little while, but it just sat on my desk because I just couldn't connect with it. I think it was just too intimidating for me, just learning the Rider-Waite system. And of course I haven't really learnt the whole Rider-Waite system either. Obviously memorize them, and I don't really intend to memorize everything, but that's just not how my brain works. But when it came to the Thoth, it was very symbolic and very symbol heavy, and at that point in my life I was more looking to just be very intuitive. And over a couple of probably past year or so, I've become more attuned to symbols and working with symbols. And so this is just the Queen of Cups, and so the Nine of Cups, just an example. So my plan for this year is to use the book that I have on my bedside table, which I forgot to pick up, but to use the book and sort of work through it very slowly. I'm not really sure whether I'm going to do actual draws with it. I'm thinking I might come at it as a study first and then use it within the context of draws and things like that. I don't know how that's going to work because I'm such an intuitive person and I like drawing cards daily often. But I feel like this is something that I want to research and read about while I'm studying the cards as well. So it is a study deck primarily for me, and then it will be sort of more integrated into my personal use with my journaling and my writing. And the second deck that I decided I was going to work with is the Wizard's Tarot by Corinne Kennel. Let's just show you a couple of pictures here. And this is a very pagan deck, and that's one of the reasons why I purchased it, Wizard's Tarot. But again, it's very symbol heavy, and I also have the astrology, what's it called? Tarot and Astrology by the same author, and I wanted to really learn about astrology this year. And because she published a book and most of the pictures in the book were of this deck, I thought I've been wanting to get this deck for quite a while, and I really want to be able to sort of look at the pictures in the book as well. I love this deck, I love the feeling of it, and so far I've used it a lot with my tarot poetry, and I've used it a little bit with some creative writing as well, and done a fair few spreads with it. However, I feel this deck for me is very heavy I just want to write about a lot of it. I want to do lots of spreads with it. I want to get heavy into the imagery and the symbology as well. So it's not really a deck I'd pick up and just sort of write down a few things and then be like, okay, that's my reflection for the day. It's a deck that feels to me like I want to spend time with each image a lot more. So that one's that, and I have 5 more. So the next deck that I want to really work with, this is a pretty new one to me, but the lovely Christine from Someone's Princess 88 sold this to me. And at first when I brought it home, I wasn't really sure whether I was going to be able to connect with it, because it doesn't have people on it, and I'm such a people person because I write and my characters are reflected in the cards, and I use my cards for tarot, poetry and storytelling and fiction and blog posts and whatnot. But when I started working with it, it was a really perfect deck for pretty much the opposite of what I just talked about with the Wizard's Tarot. For me, this is really quick, and it is the Wild Unknown Tarot, but for me it's really quick yet deep, complex, and the imagery just really, I can plug into it very fast. It's beautiful for me. The thing that I struggled with at the start was that it is very black and white, and then it has a lot of colour, but then I sort of thought about it in the context of how I would interpret it, and it was really helpful because colour to me is very important. Without colour I get depressed. That's why I have a lot of colour around my house, and I draw upon a lot of colour for therapy. And yet black and white is something that is a constant in my life, because I always use black pens on white paper, and whenever I'm drawing I always use black, and that contrast is sort of already in my creative subconscious, I guess, or creative landscape. So I thought it was really powerful to just be able to relate to this deck in such a unique way. And I already did a video using the Chariot, which is my card. I just think it's beautiful. I think it's so powerful in its simplicity, and yet, like I said, it's very complex as well. And I love that it doesn't have people in it. I love that it has just animals and items and colour, and just the contrast and the way that it's portrayed as well, like the artistic lines. It's visually stimulating. So this is something I really want to work with this year as well. And I do love using this one for very big spreads, because I usually just write keywords and maybe I reflect afterwards. Like, this to me is like a keyword thing. I pick up on the keywords, what it means to me, and then at the end I journal about the spread as a whole. Whereas most often I will journal about each individual card and then do a wrap up when I'm doing my journaling. So this is really fantastic for bigger spreads, especially since I'm using the 365 tarot spreads. Although I haven't done that for a couple of days, but I am using that throughout the year as well, so to do much larger and different spreads. I think I might make another video on the books that I'm planning on using in 2016. Okay, so the next one that I wanted to talk about is a newer one, and that is the Spirit of the Wheel meditation deck. And I really wanted to get deeper with my Native American interests, I guess, but it's always in my subconscious mind and in my body, and I'm not really sure of my heritage, but it's definitely a culture that is fascinating to me and always comes up whenever I'm talking about spirituality within my sacred space, and just some of the animals as well that are sort of depicted in the culture as well. A couple of days before I picked up this deck randomly, I was shopping for a dream catcher because I really wanted a dream catcher, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you, but I found, that's my altar, that's my little sleepy kitty. Up there is an eagle dream catcher, or hawk dream, I think it's an eagle there. I always get confused, but I call it hawk or eagle. Interchangeable for me, because for me they are very similar. But that came into my life, and I was really wanting something that I could use alongside my dreaming, because dreaming is really important to me, and I'm coming back to working with my dreams a lot more. And I feel like Native American culture is heavy on dreams, and I'm fascinated with the way that they sort of talk about their dreams, they share their dreams. It's a very prominent part of their life. It's not something that they sort of keep separate. It's something that they keep really, really close to their hearts, and it's something that they share with each other to gain that wisdom from the collective unconscious, from their own personal unconsciousness, and their minds. And I really feel that this is a deck that taps into that sort of really dreamy, whimsical, but just beautiful spiritual practice of connecting to oneself. So I'll show you a couple of the cards. And it also has a system to go with it as well that ties in with the elements and the moons, the animals and the culture. And it's something that I really want to spend time with. For me, this would be a deck that I would use probably for a couple of hours. So I'd draw like maybe a card, and I'd journal with it, and I'd meditate, and I'd bring it into sacred space and sort of ritualize it. I think it's so beautiful, and my mum loved it so much that she purchased a copy for herself. It's not just the pictures that resonate, it's also the colours as well, and the artistic style. I love that it has the very simple keywords here as well. I'm starting to want to leave a little bit of the guidebook behind, so like I said, to be a bit more intuitive. I also love that it's broken up into oh god, my brain. It's broken up into east, west, south and west. East, west, north and south. Sorry, I'm a bit hot. It's like 42 degrees here as well. So it walks you around that meditation and that medicine wheel as well in that regards. And then it has really beautiful people as well. I just love that. Love the Stone of Ancestors. So this is definitely one of the decks that, for me, I think it's going to be a very personal one. I don't read for other people at the moment. I used to, but I pulled back a bit because I really wanted to work on learning and sort of practicing my skills and using the tarot and oracles as a more creative outlet, because for me, I want to create a business that is sort of interlinking tarot with coaching for creative purposes, for creative people who are writers or poets or actors or that kind of industry, profession and interest and passion. So I'm kind of working with that in my own practice, so I can integrate that into my own practice, but also so that I can teach and work with that with other people too later on. And this is definitely going to help that. And then I've got three more, sorry. I have the Wisdom of the Avalon Oracle, the Wisdom of Oracle, Avalon. I never know how to actually call, like, what it's actually called really. I just call it Wisdom of Avalon. And this is like a deck that stays by my bed constantly. And I want to use it because I want to connect with my Celtic pantheon to start with. And Avalon came very heavily in my life last year, and I'm very deeply influenced by it. It is a path I'm following, it is a path I want to follow, and it is a mythology and sort of magical world that has helped me heal a lot, and it's also helped me connect with some of my heritage and my ancestry, where I was struggling a little bit to plug into that dynamic and plug into a way that I could connect, because I don't really connect with my blood ancestry. It's something that I'm really working on, and something I want to heal, and something that's very prevalent. And by sort of using these cards, I've been able to do that. But also for me, as a magical person, I do use these cards as a more sort of prophet, priestess, seer, magician kind of element for me. So this year I want to delve into them deeper again, alongside my Celtic myth and magic. But I just love these cards. They are one of my favorites. and they will always stay by my bed or come with me whenever I go. I love the fairy energy because that's something else I really want to connect with this year, is more fairy energy, because in the past it's been one of my shadows. I've just sort of resisted it. I love the path, the sacred like journey path markers as well, sorry, because a lot of the time when I am stuck journaling or I'm stuck in my life, it's because I'm at a crossroads and I really want to understand a little bit more about what that turning point is, to make more discerning decisions and to really get back to self. Because a lot of the time when I come up against these path markers, it is when I am too physical and too logical, and which is very helpful sometimes, but I'm not in myself, I'm outside of myself and I'm not grounded, and they really help me to ground a lot more. And I've always felt an affinity to animals. I have a cat, obviously, but just sacred animals as well. Really connecting with the beauty of them, their messages in a spiritual way. And because I do live out in suburbia, there's not a real chance to see a lot of animals unless they're domesticated. And also, a lot of the animals that I really do cherish and love and connect with are sort of Native American, or they are overseas, or they are embedded in different pantheons like the Celtic pantheon, which has a history attached to them and mythology and magic attached to them. So, and I also really love these messengers. I just love the artwork as well. So I'm looking forward to using these cards in 2016. One of the pivotal cards that I have been using is the High Priestess, because I really wanted to step into my High Priestess this year. Alongside working with the Morrigan, as I have been for a couple of months now. It's about really me stepping into my own power and my own power to heal, and step into what I believe is a witch, what I believe is a druid, what I believe is a seer and a prophet and a creative being. And I really feel like Avalon plugs me into that. It allows me that space, it holds me that space, and it really connects me with the person that I am and want to be, and the person that I have been in the past. Well, trying to put these things back in like properly is irritating. But I love these decks. I love them so much. Okay, I'm just going to move a bit because my back is really sore. So, sorry guys. Okay, so I've got 2 more decks to go. Earth Magic by Stephen Farmer, or Stephen D. Farmer. I am actually partway through reading his book on healing the karmic wounds and healing karmic energy with the ancestors. So this deck for me, again, alongside the Avalon of the Oracle deck, I try and choose Oracle decks that are really relating to elements, animals, sort of shamanism and shamanic energy, and this deck is just powerful for that. Now, I purchased this deck at a time where the sort of the borders of life and death were very prevalent. There was an incident in our family, and it was traumatizing for everybody, and it was a great deep loss, but it also reminded me a lot about fertility and the gift of life and the gift of love and the gift of the land. And it was at a time when I'd crossed from being in suburbia back out to the country again. Not the country where I was born, like the town that I was born in, but it was very heavy with beaches and rivers and wetlands and just nature. And I really, really love this deck because of that. It just really connects me with that part of myself that I'm trying to... not even trying, I connect with it daily, but it offers me a chance to connect with that ancestral love of the country and the land that I'm from, and not necessarily like the land in a sort of Aboriginal sense, but I do really, that's part of my heritage too, because my grandmother was Aboriginal too, but more so like the land that I was from, and how I can kind of connect with that a lot more and bring that into my life. So I hope that made sense. I'm a bit rambly today, but these cards are beautiful. I mean, this for me, DNA and karma, I could cry with this card, because for me, a lot of the karmic issues that relate to my family do come down to the heritage and the land and the fighting for the land and the history around that, and sort of abuse and sort of treating people horribly and treating themselves horribly in my family and going through really painful shit. And so these cards just really resonate with me on that level, because it's blood, it's earth, it's the sky, it's the land, it's mythology, it's magical, and it connects me with that so deeply. And this year I'm so excited to work with these more. These are a couple of cards that I have at the top of my deck, and I can really see myself stepping deeper into these in my daily life, but also my ritual work as well. And I've actually started reading through the book, which is something I never do. I don't read the guidebook from start to finish, but I have, and it's been really nourishing for me to sort of go through it and see what the cards mean, and see the sort of story that weaves through the guidebook as well, and the journey that I want to take with these cards to tap into my ancestry line as well. And lastly, I won't go too much longer with this video, but I have the Tarot of the She. I'm positive everybody's seen this deck before, but I'm just going to show you a few pictures. It's new to me too. I got the cloth deck and this at the same time. This deck is already just powerful, and I'm going to make a separate video once I've worked with it for a while. But it's something I want to work with in 2016, something I need to. A lot of people talk about getting hits immediately, and I know exactly what they feel like. I'm speechless when it comes to this deck. The imagery, the messages, the poetry. The poetry. As a novelist and as a short story writer for so many years, coming back to those roots of writing poetry as I used to as a child and as a teenager has been absolutely integral to my healing and recovery through my own artistic healing and through my own sort of trauma. And when I found out that this deck was primarily intuitive and it had meanings around it that were written in poetry forms, and she encourages you to write and storytell and use this in magic, I needed it. And so I will be working with it this year. I will go into more detail later. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it took so long to go through them all, but I really like talking about why I chose those decks and what I really want to do with them and what they mean to me. I will put some link below for some videos that I've been watching, and I love you all, and have a fantastic week and a happy 2016. Bye.